This is Generation Y. I'm Dan, and this is Vince. And today we're going to talk about the NSA, the National Security Agency.
The NSA was originally known as the Military Intelligence Division, which was founded in 1917 in response to the Zimmerman telegram, which is a famous telegram sent from the Germans to the Mexican government attempting to entice them into a war with America to prevent the United States from entering World War I. And the reason it was founded was to aid the U.S. military in intercepting radio intelligence in order to spy on the Germans and any other adversary we would have from then on. And then in 1952, it was essentially reformatted into the NSA, National Security Agency, which is what we know today. And they've changed a lot since then, haven't they, Dan?
Yes, well, after Congress passed the Patriot Act, after 9/11, it kind of went more into collecting different records. But the Patriot Act was pretty much just used for strictly terrorists. But it opened the door to what is now the NSA. And during Obama's presidency, he executive ordered what we now know as the NSA, collecting all this metadata and phone records on every American right now. And it's caused a lot of controversy because the debate is now between, do we want to surrender our liberty for security, or do we think that we can use the Bill of Rights and still be able to catch terrorists?
The common argument that we see for the NSA is that they effectively stop terrorist plots. But if you look up terrorist plots since the 9/11 terrorist attacks, there has been approximately 28 that the U.S. has taken credit for stopping, and all of them have been the combined efforts of the FBI, the CIA, and the TSA. And the NSA really had no part in any of them, or at least claimed is not taking credit for any parts of them.
Right.
So what are they really doing with all this information? Well, they've clearly been working close to certain cellular companies, including AT&T. Now AT&T aided them in collecting data, but it's not really quite sure what AT&T actually got out of this deal. And when they were questioned about this by a reporter, their response is that we don't have to talk about our dealings with the NSA.
Right.
So AT&T customers were unknowingly being spied on by not only the U.S. government, but by a company that they pay money to.
So now the government is actually trying to create incentives for big companies like AT&T and Google and Verizon to release their records to them. But it's causing a decently sized stir within Congress and with different politicians on, is the NSA gone too far? Our Fourth Amendment states that it prohibits unreasonable searches and seizures and requires any warrant to be judicially sanctioned and supported by probable cause. So the debate basically comes that, there's no probable cause and there's no warrant that is being signed through the Patriot Act where the government can just obtain all of these records. And the problem with the USA Freedom Act, which was just passed by Congress or was getting voted on, I'm pretty sure it passed, is that it takes away the NSA, but it has nothing to do with general warrants. So basically, in layman terms, the government can just sign a warrant saying Verizon, and that'll get everybody's records that have Verizon Wireless as their cell phone carrier.
And now the argument may be that possibly the Fourth Amendment is out of date, but to say that an amendment in the U.S. Constitution is out of date, that would mean that the whole Constitution
and this is what we fought a revolution over.
Exactly.
And the Fourth Amendment, according to a lot of the founding fathers, was the spark that started the revolution.
Yeah, and the thing is that a lot of people have seemingly already forgotten is that, this was a conspiracy theory that the government was spying on us until recently with the Edward Snowden leaks.
Yes.
I remember there was, in the Simpsons movie, they joked about the government tapping into phone records.
1984.
I don't know if you guys should be talking so loud. No, Lisa, it's not like the government is listening to everybody's conversation.
Yeah, but people would watch that and be like, oh, that's so funny. Can you imagine the government tapping into all our phone records? And for a while, there's been theories that there's been speculation that the NSA was in fact hacking into phone records, and a lot of those people were written off as conspiracy theorists, but unfortunately that turned out to be true.
Now, what I found interesting is this story on 2 Stanford students. They actually made an app and voluntarily put it on 500 different cell phones that belong to people. And after so many days of the trial, they looked back at the metadata. Is that how you pronounce it? On the metadata, and they wound up finding out from the 500 phones. They were able to find out people's religion, diseases that they have, their doctors, different books that they're reading, the groups and organizations that they're involved in. 85% of the phones, they were able to find this through. So when people say, well, I'm not doing anything illegal, so why should this matter to me? I have nothing to hide. But a corrupt government is a corrupt government. And, we saw that through the IRS targeting conservatives and the Tea Party. So, let's say you're involved in the Tea Party and this government, again, wants to go after that. Well, yeah, you may not be selling drugs or killing people, but they view that as a threat. And you could be audited at just numerous times. And, that is not what this government should be doing.
And again, that sounds like a conspiracy theory that they're going to audit you because they don't agree with you. Well, we saw this with the IRS. And now you mentioned that they were tracking which books people were reading. Did anyone read Into the Works of George Orwell, possibly in 1984? Did they include that in the reading list?
I don't know.
Oh, well, that'd be an interesting find.
And a lot of people think that the NSA actually stops terrorism, but going back to what Vince said, they have not stopped one single terrorist plot. I just feel like we have all these terrorist attacks because our government is just lazy when it comes to the warning signs. Now, the shooter in Garland, Texas, was already imprisoned, so we could have easily, no judge would have turned down a warrant to go against this guy and see if he had terrorist motives. But our government's just lazy. Same thing with 9/11. We just ignored warning signs.
But then, couldn't we have prevented those attacks by making guns illegal? Isn't there no way for someone to conceivably get a gun if they're made illegal?
But, I mean, even with
I don't know how to use the internet, so is there any way for someone to somehow get an illegal item? I don't think there is.
Yeah, and even with the shooting in the Boston Marathon, we were tipped off by the Russians that these brothers were up to no good, and the family, they were very hateful. And we just, again, we avoided all of the signs, and, once something as dramatic as this happens, then we kind of just sit back and say, oh, we need to grow government, we need more security.
But now, doesn't that sound like a breach in national security? Shouldn't, I don't know, some national security agency possibly be the one to prevent something like that? And with all their tools at disposal, why haven't they?
Yeah, and we have so many of them that are, they're put in place to stop terrorist plots.
But I would argue that that's not even their primary purpose in America.
What, the NSA?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think, a lot of, I don't see the need for a government agency to collect all of our data, and somebody could be sitting behind a computer sifting through all of our messages and what we're doing. And there's even a clause within the NSA that states, it's called the Library Act, and this allows the NSA to be able to see what books you're checking out and what church you go to. Like, this is nothing that should be that is the government's business. And I feel like the government is even trying to keep this under wraps, or at least for a while. I mean, I remember when the head of the intelligence, James Clapper, actually had to speak in front of Congress and said, we are not collecting any records on Americans. He lied to Congress. This guy still has a job.
Does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans?
No, sir.
It does not.
Not wittingly. There are cases where they could inadvertently, perhaps, collect, but not wittingly.
So I feel like the government's just trying way too hard to, just keep this under wraps. Yeah, and they're even saying that Snowden is an enemy of the state now, like, just for whistleblowing?
I think they're trying to agree to a $30 million settlement with him. So apparently his crime amounts to $30 million, his crime of trying to bring awareness to the American people.
And what concerns me the most is that most politicians actually stand for this. That they stand for the NSA and the Patriot Act.
Well, obviously, it gives them power over the people. Why would they stand for it?
And that is what is scary about our government now. I mean, you only have a select few, Rand Paul being the most noticeable, that is standing up against the Patriot Act and the NSA. So I mean, It seems like we are, to quote Mark Levin, we are in a post-constitutional age where the Constitution is basically passé. It's just outdated. And, that is what is scary.
We hope you guys learned something today, and we just want to remind you that nothing we said today is at all speculation. And it may sound a little scary and like a conspiracy theory, but the fact of the matter is this is the country we live in today, and this is what we have to deal with.
Yeah.
So see you guys next time. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave us a like, and maybe check out some other videos.